Thanks, everybody who could join us tonight. I thought it was important as we start to get a little bit closer to the start of the season. I know we've talked a lot about concepts and we've seen a lot of plays, and I think that's all been great. But I did want to spend some time with some teachable moments from some of us from last year on the field, or the last several years on the field. So thank you to everybody who's shared plays so far, and I want to do this again in about a month. So I will start this meeting by saying, if you have plays that you think you want to share, just let me know. We will figure out the way to facilitate the sharing of the plays. That's a low order problem. I've got 4 plays that I want to show tonight first, and then we're going to kind of roll down a list of other presenters. My plan is to run the play through without saying anything first, just so you can see what's going on, and then we'll come back and talk to it. My request for anybody that's on the call is that if you have a pointer from your position or a question you want to ask, don't hesitate to jump in and ask it, because that's how we learn. You know, think about these as those meetings you would go to in person where we'd be putting a play up and talking about it. So we'll go through as many of these as we can get through in the hour, and we'll go from there. But so this play is from last season. We are going to have it's a pass play out in this direction toward the top of the screen, and the headline judge. So here we go. We come out with incomplete pass on that play. Ultimately, after discussion, we end up with an incomplete pass. But there's obviously a lot going on here, and I know from television, and probably for some of you who see this play the first time, why didn't we just wipe this play? Why didn't we wipe this play off in the first place? Because it's so obviously incomplete. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on that I want to walk through. I know we've mentioned this before as it relates to the COC, Big Ten, Mac Valley, Pioneer, stuff like that, but we do something different with our responsibilities as line of scrimmage officials than is what is stated in the manual. And basically, as the manual says, the line judge is the one that holds the line of scrimmage, and they're the one that's going to be responsible for the forward backward pass decision in whenever they're on the line. Well, here, whenever we've got trips to the line judge, then the headline judge is the one that takes that responsibility. So now I'm on the hook here for the forward backward pass decision because we've got trips to the line judge. So as you can see here, as the play develops, my key is this back. He doesn't go anywhere, so I'm kind of locking it in back here, trying to help out. This block here, anywhere there are threats. But as the quarterback is about to throw the ball, some things create problems for me. One of them is I can't see the quarterback from here. Right? Where I'm positioned at the line of scrimmage causes about 3 people to be between me and the quarterback. So I can't see where the ball's at. And as the ball comes out, I don't see it come out because this guy's jumped directly in my field of vision. And this guy is lurking close enough to the quarterback that I'm not sure if that ball was thrown or he was hit and it came out. Now, it's pretty obvious that he wasn't hit, but that's not how it looked on the field. So what happens is I end up looking back here for some help. But the help I'm looking for is a pass fumble decision from the referee. And I don't know that anybody has really developed a great strategy for this, how to communicate that point to the officials that need to know it. Because when I see a ball come out like this, and I'm not sure that it's a forward pass, the last thing I want to do is come out and call it incomplete when it could be a fumble. Because if it's a fumble and I blow it dead, that's a problem. Now, it's less of a problem because we have replay and there was a clear recovery here, but I still don't want to get involved in that. Unfortunately, as I'm hanging out up here and I'm not doing anything, I kind of stop officiating this play because I start looking for help. I'm looking in the referee center judge for some information, so you can see it a hell of a lot more on the sideline look. the sideline clip here, I don't move at all. You know, if you would think if I'm going to judge this to be a pass, or if I'm going to judge this to be a fumble, I should be in reverse mechanics right now. But instead, I'm more interested in what's going on with the referee and the center judge, so that I almost get run into on the return because I don't give ground and get out of there, which is an obvious mistake. And if I was going to rule that a fumble, I should have gone into reverse mechanics. But that's where we were at in this play. Ultimately, as we had a conversation and we pieced this play together, center judge, referee, umpire, and I were all standing over there, as you saw at the end of the clip. You know, we're all here talking, and it took me a while to get to ask the direct question that I wanted to ask of the referee and the center judge, which was that a forward pass? If I'd asked them if that was a forward pass right away, then this whole discussion would have been shut out. I said, oh, that's a forward pass and it's incomplete. But I didn't have that information available to me. So that is a teachable moment, I think, in the making sure you know what questions to ask and making sure you know if you're in one of these other positions where the help can be. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, points on this play?
Not to belabor this too much, but if you were working this again, are you jumping right to the question of I need to know if that was forward or backward? How would that conversation look different this time? Like, I mean, I see where the conversation broke down and took longer than it needed to. How would you work this differently, or how would that conversation go differently if you were in the same position again?
I would definitely go right to either the referee or the center judge and say, was that a pass? Because if it was a pass, I know it was forward. I said if it was a forward pass, but if it was a pass, I know it was a forward pass based on the way that where the pass was touched. Because I had that information, but I didn't have a good look at the other stuff. And I was more concerned about it was a pass fumble thing that I was not clear on. Because Jeremy, you can attest, you certainly don't want the line of scrimmage guys making pass fumble decisions when it's close.
Nope.
So.
Not unless you like IWs.
Right. Which I do not, for the record. So to answer your question, Amy, that's what I would have done differently. Other thoughts?
Hey, Nick, Nick is Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Since you knew that you were going to have to make that ruling, whether it was forward, backwards, and that, do you think it would have helped you if you would have moved a little bit quicker off the line of scrimmage to see that may have moved you in a position where you wouldn't have been blocked by those other folks?
You know, it might have. I'm not going to pretend like it didn't, but I would also suggest there were lots of guys, even all the way back to even with the quarterback, that would have really challenged my vision anyway. I'm not saying that could not have helped. I think that would have helped. Any other thoughts on this play? All right, I'm going to skip ahead to the next one. I think we may have discussed this play before, but this play is dealing with passes beyond line of scrimmage and mechanics as it relates to ineligibles downfield. So I'm going to go ahead and just roll this first for everybody before we get into discussion. So pretty apparent to everybody based on, I think, the first run through that we did not have that pass being first touched behind the line of scrimmage. And while the line judge is the one that's responsible, there's no reason that the headline judge on this play should not have had more help. You know, as this play develops, you can see these guys are just going for it. They're way downfield. The umpire's all over this. He's going to have the flag down because this quarterback looks like he's going to tuck it and run, but he pulls up and he dumps the ball to this guy. Now, my mistake, because I had held the line because my key didn't push me downfield. My mistake here was giving up this line because this guy's coming out at me. And in the interest of self-preservation, which I probably could have avoided anyway, I came off the line. And when I came off the line, I lost my reference point. And because I lost my reference point, I wasn't any help. And you can see right here in this angle, the side judge is coming to me because he's going to ask me if that pass was behind or beyond the line because he had a potential OPI play. And I blanked out on it, especially when I looked up and saw that the line judge was already talking to the umpire and ended up pulling him off of it. The referee also in this play made the announcement, and I know this is the part we've definitely talked about, to trigger a replay review or to at least get replay's involvement. Replay did not stop this game, did not stop the game for this, and we can't rely on replay to solve all of our problems. But you know, if I had to do anything differently on this play, I would have just held my ground. That guy was not going to come out of bounds. Like, he was in space. He wasn't about to be driven out of bounds in front of me. He would have been able to easily just catch that pass. And not be a concern of mine as it relates to running me over. Thoughts on this play? Yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward. You likely saw this play, for those of you who are CFO people, on the training tape this past week. So I'll run it real quick, and we'll get to the point I want to make here in a second. So you probably saw, and I'll run this again here in a second, we had a blindside block at the 34-yard line, and then we had targeting that the side judge called at the 27-yard line. Now, we end up having a very lengthy discussion, again, because of communication, because I didn't ask the right questions. We, H&S, are both down on the blindside block. And then he starts talking about his targeting play. So at the time, and this is the reason this ended up on the training tape, this was a live ball blindside block and a dead ball targeting foul, but I didn't know it was a dead ball targeting foul, and it wasn't communicated effectively that it was a dead ball targeting foul. So my brain immediately starts going into, okay, we're late in the game. The receiving team's probably going to want the ball so they don't re-kick. So they're going to have to decline the live ball targeting and accept the blindside block to keep the ball. Is that what we're all thinking? Okay, that's what we end up all thinking. So those are the things to be mindful of, is make sure when there's any question about what might be going on with a play like this, make sure we know that we've got a live ball and a dead ball, because we ended up doing the right thing. We enforced both of these penalties because we came back with the fact that this was a live ball and a dead ball, but it took us a long time to get there, even before we go for review. We're going to talk. We're going to keep talking. We got the spot. We know where the penalty's at. Moving flags, all that kind of stuff. But we are here for an exorbitantly long amount of time because we didn't get the right information communicated to each other. Thoughts on this play? Questions? I think it's incredibly imperative too. In this case, it happens to be the side judge, but it could be any of us. We've got the calling official in this case was involved in both of the fouls on this play, so we've got to be thinking that we've got a live ball and a dead ball when I come to the huddle, because that'll help get the crew in the right mindset to get this penalty enforced correctly. Because one of the things that ended up happening is we ended up taking a lot of time, because since we didn't enforce anything as we went to review, because we thought we were going to offset these, we thought we might have to offset these, we didn't enforce anything. If we had known that the targeting was a dead ball foul, we would have gone ahead and enforced the blindside block and waited on confirmation of the targeting before we went off and enforced that. And this was a very long review as well, but that's immaterial as it relates to this part of the discussion anyway. But you're going to see the blindside block right there. And this guy went over the top and targeted. Questions on this play? Okay, my last play is a couple of years old, but again, I think it speaks pretty well to kind of the theme that I think I pulled throughout tonight, even if I accidentally, is about communication. And this is the thing that I learned, and this game was in my first season working with any kind of instant replay in a regular basis. And it's important to understand that replay doesn't always know what we know on the field, and we have to communicate to them what exactly is going on, and we have to use a referee to do that in many cases. So you're going to see a tight sideline catch at the bottom of the screen. Guy's got control and a foot down. So that looks like a catch, but I've got it not being a catch because you'll notice he comes up and he doesn't have the ball. And you can't see it so well here, but you can certainly see, well, you may or may not be able to see. But you're going to be able to see here on the sideline view, hopefully, that the ball is going to squirt out off of the screen down in this area because he didn't survive the ground. He goes to the ground, the ball pops out. Unfortunately, as you can probably guess, this camera angle is not a camera angle that instant replay has. And so as a result, we go to review. So as a result of the fact that replay doesn't have all of the information, they end up reversing a ruling on the field. And this is my fault. This is my fault for not telling my referee, hey, I have this as an incomplete pass because he didn't survive the ground and the ball squirted away when he hit the ground. Because if he takes that to replay, now replay is going to have to prove that he survives the ground. And the referee's not going to have to announce that, but it is information that replay needs to make sure we get the play right. Thoughts?
Correct me if I'm wrong. If you call it incomplete, replay has to have indisputable evidence that it was. They don't have to counter what you've got.
That is correct.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. You know, if you can communicate them, give them more information. But if they couldn't prove that he held on to the ball, they shouldn't have been overturning you.
Therein lies the problem there, Frank. On this particular play, and I can speak for it with Nick, they were able to get indisputable video evidence that the player had control of the ball with a foot down in bounds with the TV feeds. And that's all that replay thought was in dispute. They never got the extra ruling from the field to say it is incomplete because the receiver never maintained control or firm control of the ball and survived contact with the ground. So replay was under the impression all that was in dispute was whether or not the receiver got a foot down in bounds. And his foot, if you can go back to the sideline view, Nick, or if you can go back to one of the looks, his foot is very close to whether or not it's in or out of bounds near the sideline. And once replay was able to tell that he was in bounds, they said, okay, firm control there, we got a foot down, we're good to go, reverse the call to a catch. Because again, we never told them hey, this is or this is incomplete, not because of the foot. I know about the foot. It's because of the fact that the ball or the receiver never came up with the ball following the catch. And you guys can see here, there's no way that replay can tell because of that, or that our replay officials can tell because the replay ends so abruptly on what the wideout does with football after the fact. All they were doing is focusing or zeroing in too much on just the foot. And once they cleared that, they thought that they were good.
Okay. I'll still say that they have to have indisputable evidence to overturn your call, and that includes the entire catch process. Correct?
I don't like to Jeremy's point. I don't think that part's in dispute. I just think it's a matter of if you're not looking at the right part of the play, like we can still help by communicating better.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I agree. And the point to make here also is don't assume that replay is going to bail you out on everything, because they don't have they don't even get some of the angles that we get here.
Yeah. I can assure you that nobody was more surprised that this play got reversed than I was. But the other part too is once the referee takes the headset off and makes the announcement, I don't get to go provide more information. Like that's the end of that. That ruling has been made.
I agree.
See some notes in the chat. I can assure you it was not 75 and sunny. It was sunny, but it was not 75. Okay, I'm going to skip a couple plays because Ryan was not able to join us tonight. So Julie, I believe you are up.
All right.
Let me get to your phone here.
Yeah, this play coming up, I worked a half a season in the NAIA last year, so I don't have a ton of plays to pull from, but Teachable Moments, this one sprang to mind. So 4th down punt play. I'm the back judge. I'm the back judge on this play, so I'm way deep off camera here. So if you play the video, it turned into a crazy play. The kicking team was down 41-0 in the, I think, second quarter here. The return team, I believe, won the NAIA national championship this year, so they were beating the crap out of them. But right around the H here, what happens, I had good position, and then the ball bounces off a Team A player's helmet, and I end up in a scrum of people. I almost died that day. So I'm deep enough here, but what I didn't do, I had a beanbag down for first touching, but what I didn't do was do a good job adjusting my position to get deeper when the ball ricocheted. I swear to God, the ball picked up speed after it bounced, but that's still something that's got to happen. So, see, goes off the top of the guy's helmet, straight forward. Now I've got guys running at me while I'm trying to throw something. What I need to do is turn and run quicker and figure out a better way to get out of the way of the play. What I eventually did was just stop and let the players go by me. I made eye contact with the runner. I thought he was using me as a block until I made eye contact with him. Then I saw as much fear in his eyes as there was in mine. So the only feedback that I got on this play in Quick Ref was that I had a good no call for a block in the back while I was in the middle of the scrum, and it happened way in front of me with the blockers up by the top of the screen, near the sideline. So it was a weird play. Moral of the story, the teachable moment here is being able to, or the need to adjust positioning a little bit better and let players avoid you instead of trying to run the other way and risk getting hit. Does anybody have any ideas on how I could have better positioned myself in this play.
I know we got other back judges on the call, so.
Where was your starting position? Are you like a couple yards inside of the punt returner?
I was a few yards outside of the returner and deep of the returner. I could have been wider, definitely. But.
Well,
Yeah, my thought was being wider would might avoid some of this, just getting a little bit of a wider angle instead of getting deeper. Because I mean, obviously here being deeper at the end would have helped.
Right.
But I think in terms of your initial position, maybe being a little bit wider instead of back further is going to put you in a better position. But there's also only so much you can do to anticipate one of those kind of wacky bounces off of, a wacky bounce off a helmet. But I think starting a little bit wider might help out there.
Okay.
I prefer standing almost behind the punt returner, just off the shoulder, and because the punt's never going to go directly at them, and just let them go to whatever direction they're going to, and you go the opposite direction.
Okay, I hadn't thought about that.
Because it's never going to be kicked directly at them. That's just, it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the punt's kicked towards the middle of the field, you're going to go towards the opposite side. But also, did the field judge have a bag for the touch?
My bag was the only one down. I was the only one that saw it. Went off of, I believe it was the guy that fell down, actually. Number 3.
Great, Julie. Thanks for sharing the play. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Flanagan, you're up. So you can go ahead and share your screen with everybody. You should be able to do that.
Okay, let me just switch over there, and let me see how this goes here. All right, can everybody see my screen now, or?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, what we have 4 plays that I kind of tagged through as I was reviewing games last year that I had as teachable moments. So I thought I'd share those with everybody here. This first play is just a try. What I want to concentrate on is working with the side judges and umpire with a pull and shoot to the left-hand side, a potential pull and shoot. Of course, we know, let me just play it through first. We'll watch the action with the down tackle, 92, the linebacker, 42, and I think the other guy, 63 to the left, right in front of the side judge. I'll just let this play through a little bit. I believe I got the sound off. You'll notice I go up to 52. I always tap my leapers, try to identify them, always give them a verbal count as well as a physical touch or pat just to let them know not to leap or land on anybody. They acknowledge that. But as we watch here, I'll just let the try go by. I'll play it. What we have is a classic pull and shoot action by that defensive tackle number 92 there. But even though we have the pull and shoot action, we do not have a player shooting through the gap. So therefore, it's not a foul. Remember, it's 2 elements we need for that, for a pull and shoot. You need the hold action, you need the pull, and you need the player going through the hole that was created. None of that was done here. I mean, the coach beforehand, we talked about this play. We as a crew identified this play from scouting that we saw that happen. This just happened to be the first time, I believe, that North Dakota, the team in white, scored and they tried an extra point. I recognize that formation. We communicated that out to the side judge to be aware of that. He was on the same page. And, the coach was, I remember Jeremy, you and I were on this game, the coach screaming about this beforehand. And we told him that you need, for pull and shoot, you need somebody to go through the gap. Yeah, the action is a hold, but if we don't have anybody going through the gap, we have nothing on this play. So this is just a reminder, a teachable moment here is that you need 2 elements for a pull and shoot. You need the hold action, which is a pull to create a gap that somebody, and you need somebody to go through that gap in order for there to be a foul on this play. So this is something to keep in mind for side judges and umpires on tries and on field goals, that pull and shoot is actually a two-part action. Now I'll let it play through a little bit more on the left-hand side. 42, we're going to watch the linebacker. 92, definitely with a pull action goes. He pulls rotates 76's shoulders, creates the gap, and nobody went through the gap at all. We had the fortune of this play. We had 3 illegal formations in a row, so we got to try this 3 different times. This was the only time during the game that they did do this. Although later in the year, defense did revert to this situation here. So I think there was another end zone view that we had back over here that we could show again. Basically the same thing from the coach's tape here. Just to not to belabor the point, but just to show you again, that sideline didn't really show it very well. But you can see 92 go in. His first move is to move the shoulders, get the guy off balance, bring him down. But then again, nobody shot through the gap. We told the coach that it was not a pull and shoot action. Yes, there was a hold, but nobody went through. So, anybody have any questions on that play or any clarification that's needed? I'll take that as a no. We can move on to the next play here. What we had here was just what I thought was just great coverage on. I know Jeremy's going to touch upon this, I think next week or the week after, reverse mechanics. We had I'll just let this play through here. Let me go forward. Sorry about that. I clicked the wrong button. I'll let this play through the first time, and you'll see what we have here, and then we can go back and discuss what's going on. So 4th down scrimmage kick from about the 23, all out rush. We had it blocked. We're in reverse mechanics, and I just thought the front 3, especially the referee and the linesman and the head line judge and the line judge just did an excellent job boxing in this particular play. This was, if I believe, this was the next series after we just had an interception return for a touchdown. Again, when somebody blocks the kick, I believe it was 6 who blocked it. He's the only one who is allowed to make contact with the punter. We had that down, and we had, I just thought excellent coverage. You'll see it a little bit better on the sideline tape here. Both wings were going to the goal line. Referee was there. Umpire was moving up and holding the line of scrimmage. So with the front 4, I just thought it was very good coordination on the block kick there. Not to panic. Everybody got where they needed to be and boxed the play in well. So that was just one thing as a crew. I just thought this looked very good how we handled this here. Any questions on this particular play?
I thought that's good, Steve. I think that, I know that personally, and I think that your line of scrimmage guys did a good job of being on the goal line. And I know I saw somebody at the end line at the end of the play that wasn't the referee, but I assume that's probably because the ball had already been long dead and he might have been coming in to clean up. But I certainly know that.
Yes, he was. That was the head of the H that was there. You can see him here, getting to the goal line. He probably should have stopped right there. That's a good point. I have an opinion from another headlines, but yes, he probably should have stopped at the goal line. I believe he knew that the ball went through the end zone for the safety. That's probably why he didn't stop. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He should have stopped at the goal line. That's his responsibility. I believe that's where the line judge did stop as well on that play. But referee had the end line, and the H and the L should just have the goal line on that particular play. All right, next one here is this here was a good crew call here for on a pass play. Let me just play it through. Just watch what happens here. Watch the television feed at first. Just watch, ball snap from the 48 on the left, what would be the left hash, position 5 away from the press box. I forget what the down and distance was here. I think it was second or third and short. So we're just going to have a pass play, just a basic formation tight. We have one guy down at the bottom wide, a little flex wide receiver up at the top, 4 down linemen. and we just get a rush on the quarterback, and basically a quarterback just dumps the ball, never gets out of the tackle box. I just thought here the F and the L did an excellent job communicating this here, even though the the H here did a great job keeping the coach off the field. If you go and you listen to the announcers or what, they were just screaming for intentional grounding, and that's what he was telling them, that's what we're talking about. I mean, again, here it's a crew call here, because if you look at this happens really quick. The quarterback never gets out of the tackle box, drops straight back. They rush 5 here. I believe they shot a linebacker. Defensive end just comes through. He just went back and just dumped the ball for his life. Now, the referee is not looking downfield on this ball. He's got quarterback protection the whole way. The field judge knows he doesn't have a receiver there, and the L doesn't know he has a receiver, knows he does not have a receiver there. They did a great job coming in and communicating to the referee that they had no receiver in the area, and what's always perceived as a late flag really isn't. We just have to get the information to the referee, because Jeremy, you can probably chime in on this as well as Nick. The referee is not looking downfield in this case here, so he really does appreciate help from the short wing on that side, who is the L and the F, coming in and communicating what they first have, and then going and communicating that to the referee. I just thought we just did the 3 guys just did an excellent job with this here. Any comments on this, or anything anyone else would like to add?
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I mean, I don't think any of us expect the referee to know where the ball's at. That's our, they always talk about, at least our position trainers always talk about grounding being a crew call.
Right.
And I've come in before clearly pointing at somebody if I've got to put a guy in the area, or coming right to the referee with information if not. So you can't expect the referee to know any of that stuff.
Right, exactly. And that's what they did. They first came together, the field judge and the line judge came together. They knew they didn't have anybody in the area. They went to the referee with that, and dropped the flag, and we went from there, and just moved on. So I just thought it was just a great job. Something that always doesn't happen, but when it does, it's good to get it right like this. This last play here is just a running play. But I just thought that this was a phenomenal job by the side judge, and just a great pickup on a running play that's really away from the side judge. If we look at our keys on this here, we just got a slot to the top of the screen to the side judge, headline judge side of the field. Just 11 guys are in this view here, so we can go through and break down who has what. Things like that. But what we're going to have here is just a great call by the side judge. He realizes there's no threat in his area. He quickly sees it's a running play by the action of the receivers, and he focuses his vision around on this play here. We want to concentrate on left guard number 59 on this with the action here. And I just thought it was a great pickup by the judge for an illegal block below the waist by the left guard. Now, one thing here that I've taken from this play was, one, I was thankful the side judge was looking where he was, because I was slow getting there, because I kind of had the backside. But for umpires here, one thing that we really want to concentrate on, and one thing that I've learned from this play as well as some others from last year, is that anytime we have a lineman who is basically uncovered and fires out, we really have to go with him and watch that block. I transitioned there a little late. I kind of saw the tail end of it, but the side judge saw the thing the whole way, and he threw the legal block below the waist. So, teachable moment there is, if we have an uncovered lineman as an umpire who fires out, we need to stick with them and follow that block. I was just thankful that the judge picked this block up. It was a legal block below the waist, safety foul, and I just thought it was a great get by the side judge. He quickly realized he didn't have anything out there, and it was just a great pickup on his part. So, any questions on this play, or any comments anyone would like to add?
Yeah, I just have one question for you. When you say follow him, the guard number 59, as he's first firing out, are you keeping your other 2 keys then in your peripheral? So that way you're making sure for the other center guard, but that's your primary target?
Yes, that is correct. I still keep the other two keys in my periphery. Don't really ignore them, but I've really got to do a better job with that because we're so focused on working the backside, the front side on that here in 7-man. It's even more critical because you really have one less view there. But to answer your question, yes, I will keep in my periphery. It's almost like that right eye should go to the uncovered guy, or at least recognize that when you are looking at your anchors before the play, who could possibly do what. That might give you a better idea with it. But yeah, you do want to keep an eye on the other two guys as well.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Great question. That's all.
Steve,
Oh.
Hey, on your intentional grounding play,
Right.
Are you able to tell live that the quarterback's under duress? And do you mention anything to the referee regarding if he's under duress or not?
From me personally as an umpire?
Correct, because you're looking through the center.
Not at all. That's his call all the way. Now, if he looks to me with a deer in the headlight look, there was one play we had, not this one last year, but another one last year where I did come and offer that information, but not unless I can get a vibe from the referee that he's looking for help on
Gotcha.
on that. I won't go as a rule of thumb and go because it's really not my call. Maybe next time we'll show you another play that we had where we talked about that same concept. Let me write that down, and we'll show that next time. That's another teachable moment.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Great question. Well, that's it, Nick. That's all the plays I had. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it. Roger, if you're ready, go ahead and share your screen.
All right, can you guys hear me and see the screen?
Yep, we're good.
All right, so little backstory. Well, first, the plays I picked really deal with communication and crew communication and making sure, like a couple other people have said, getting the referee all the information after a confusing play on the field. Little context for this game, you're gonna think it's an exaggeration, but it's not. We had an issue with our clock operator. We, no joke, reset the game clock 20 times in the first half. Head coach went over to the visiting coach, apologized, and fired the guy, and then put a baseball player up there. So we're all a little distracted, and it kind of explains what happens with my referee on this first play because the clock is behind him and we're all trying to make sure it stops every single play in this first half. So there's some situations that we probably should have been able to control, but we're kind of out of our control at this point in the game that kind of lead to some, I wouldn't say lack of communication, but it takes us a little while because we're having to focus on something we really shouldn't have to focus on. So I'm just going to let the play run and then I'll talk about it at the end. So the rest of this angle is just us digging the players out. And then this is the end zone view. All right, don't want that to start. All right, so game situation, it's 4th down. And I'm dropping back, watching my keys. I'm a back judge on this play. And all of a sudden, the ball is rolling towards me. And then there's a scrum in front of me. So I come in, knowing it's 4th down, stopping the clock. Because no matter who ends up on top of this ball, the clock is going to stop. Because it's 4th down, either we're awarding A, a new series, or we're awarding B, a new series. Then this is where the communication starts to kind of fall apart. As I'm running in, which is, I needed to clean this up, but as I'm running in, you see me right here start pointing at my white hat. It looks like I'm awarding blue the ball, not what I'm doing. I looked up and noticed that my white hat had turned around making sure the clock was stopped and had forgotten to beanbag the fumble spot, and he is walking up to help us clean up the pile. And since it's fourth down, if White comes up with this ball, which I think my umpire ends up awarding White the ball after digging it out, we need that fumble spot because it's a fourth down fumble and we've got to back them up. And I think it ended up being about a 10-yard difference. So things I could have cleaned up on this play is not maybe pointed, because if you look, my head linesman comes in and I'm assuming after seeing my point starts pointing that way, which yes, end result is blue is going to have the ball going that way, but at this point, we do not have any idea who has the ball. So, and you can see my side judge actually running in there. That is 100% because we have to reset the clock again for about the umpteenth time in the first quarter. So we finally figure out what happens, and I walk over to my referee to give him all the information. And he actually thanked me while we were talking to remind him to drop a beanbag, because it would have looked real sloppy if we kind of just gone and tried to guesstimate what had happened on that play. And the reason this is one of my bigger teachable moment plays is because before every game, you get a chance to talk with your clock operator and play clock operator. And that was something that was put into our game that we did not have to worry about, but we ended up having to worry about it. Even if they say they've been doing it for 20 years, make sure that you have that conversation with them, because this guy told us he had been doing it for 20 years and we still had head coach ended up firing him, which I thought was hilarious. So again, communication, cleaning up my signals, because a point in one direction definitely looks like I'm awarding possession, but just trying to get all the information in a chaotic situation because we couldn't control our clock operator is really on us. Any questions on this play?
Hey, Roger, it's not so much a question, but as a back judge, we're talking to play clock operators, and usually it's the same thing, right? They tell us we've been doing it for 15 years or 20 years or since before you were born. So what I started doing was taking a sheet. Now, I mean, the COC gives us a sheet to review, but I had my own little sheet, and then I put it into a card, and I would hand that card to them, and I would review it, and it had different situations on when we would go to 25 or 40 or scenarios that might pop up. I went through that whole card, and then I just gave it to them. And now the sheet that the COC gives us, I go through, it's like a 2-page sheet. I go through that whole thing, and some of the guys who've been doing it for a while get kind of annoyed. But, and then when we're done, I give them the sheet. They take it with them in case anything comes up. So, I don't know if you're doing anything like that. I would suggest have something up as a back judge for play clock, because it seems like there's two extremes for clock operators at schools. We either get the guy who's been doing it for 15 or 20 years, or we get the person who, like you said, it's on the baseball team and he's doing it so he can get his scholarship money.
So you bring up the sheet. We actually did give him a sheet that our white hat had that he just wanted us to talk about. And when they fired him and brought in the new guy, he had left the sheet up there, and the random freshman baseball player they put in the booth just followed the sheet. And I told him to the new guy at halftime, I was like, you look at me, you look at the guy in the white hat. Whatever our arms are doing, if we wave them up above our head, stop it. If he spins in a circle, start it. And we reset the clock, I think, once at the very end of the game, because it was a hometown clock operator and was trying to end the game for the team.
Yeah, so, I've had issues with it before. I think everyone's had issues with clock operators, and it usually takes one time to realize that the pregame meeting is important, especially when they're, being a little stubborn. You're probably in for a day, and so you have to take the extra time, even they don't want it. You really got to take the extra time with them.
Yep. After this game or week, our conference started allowing us to evaluate and review clock operators. And I think this school is one of the schools that we required that we had to have our people doing the clock. So this game brought about some fun changes in our group. All right, so next play is another fumble play. Little background on this game. The team in white has won the conference at least 3 years in a row and made it to the third round of the playoffs this year. The team in gray, it's their second year playing football. They have 3 total wins. 2 of them are against Gallaudet out of Maryland. And if you know Gallaudet, you'll know why that's not that impressive. So this game has the potential to be a blowout, but this is, I think, White's 4th drive into the red zone. And so far they have, I believe, 7 total points because they do something like this repeatedly that ends up in a fun situation where me and the field judge are staring at each other like deer in the headlights. So we'll jump ahead to the reverse angle. And it does not help that the goalpost is positioned perfectly where the ball ends up going out of bounds. So it's another fumble play at dealing with communication and making sure it needs to be concise and getting everything to the referee, because the referee is not going to know what's happening in the back of the end zone, especially having to look through 20 of the 22 bodies on the field. So officiating the play, and all of a sudden I see the ball rolling on the ground, and we get towards the end line, and player running to it, and the ball rockets up. So it looked like it had been kicked, and it was close to being down on the end line for it being out of bounds. Then I'm discussing with my field judge, was that kicked? Was that intentional? Was it out of bounds? First thing we should have done, because I wasn't 100% sure, was, wait a minute, is this a touchdown? Because if he crossed with possession of the ball, this whole conversation means nothing. And you can see my line judge walking up to our conversation, and you see every player trying to sway us to rule in their favor. So our line judge comes in. I see him come in, and I turn to him like, wait, was that a touchdown? He said, nope. And me and Brian could not decide if it was an intentional kick or not, so we just ended up ruling it a touchback and giving it to Gray 1st and 10. So a couple things I noticed when watching this play back for this review, because I just focused on my communication part, was there are some things we definitely could clean up. So if you notice down here at the 10-yard line, I don't know what he's doing down here. I don't know why that player's there. That's definitely outside the team box. But then as the play continues, you'll see head coach, nope, got to go back. Head coach in the middle of the play is yelling at my white hat while the play is still going on. So a lot of things in this play happening that we could have cleaned up. This player out here on the 10 is, I don't know why he's down there, but obviously we're all down by the goal line, so we're probably not looking back for him. But again, making sure we get all the information to the white hat, because until I watched this back on film, I had no idea that there was that interaction with the head coach and what was said and why we were allowing him to be on the field. So, and then just making sure you're communicating with everyone that's important, because I locked eyes with my field judge and decided this is the important conversation without thinking, hey, is this a touchdown? Does this conversation even matter? Any questions on this play?
Hey, Roger, and what did you know when the ball went out the back? You didn't know when the ball went out the back of the end zone if it had been ruled touchdown or not, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I just saw the ball rolling on the ground and players going after it, so I just followed the ball, I was trying to listen for a whistle, try to peek at my line judge to see if he had thrown his hands up, but I just continued to officiate the play because I had no idea if this was a touchdown or not.
I think, I think the thing that I might have done differently if I were you is if once that ball goes out of the end zone, if I glance back at the pylon and I don't see hands up, maybe I kill the clock right away. If I'm you.
Okay.
Because the issue I think you're going to run into is the way that play ended. Any kind of reset of the clock is probably a guess by somebody. as to how much time is left. And at least if you signal, maybe the timer sees you signal.
Mhm.
That's one of the things we were talking about that in one of our meetings this week earlier was, if you're not sure about what's going on, at least signal to stop the clock if it's a situation which we're going to end up stopping the clock anyway.
Good point. Anything else? Any other questions before I move on to my last one? So this last play, it's a punt, and I really have it in here to try to get more people's opinion on this play. I'll let it play out, and then I'll ask my questions. So this play, basically, we have returner calls for a fair catch, muffs it, and is ruled by me and the side judge as a recovery by the kicking team. My questions here are, the thought of KCI never crossed my head, but after talking with a few people, potentially there could be KCI. And for any back judges or deep wings on the call, how far away does the ball have to get away from the returner for them not to have a reasonable opportunity to catch it and another person can pluck it out of the air? Because basically the way I saw this play is he caught it, or it hit his arms, and then it basically was bounced into the guy's chest, and he ended up catching it on the run, but we stopped it and obviously awarded it at the spot. So anyone have any opinions on any guidelines for ruling on KCI, or don't think that this could potentially be KCI?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really say, the rule doesn't give a real specific, he can only muff it once or twice, or, how many yards it can go. So if he's still reaching for that ball, or if he's making a valid attempt to still get that ball, he still gets that opportunity. So that's something that you've got to see. I mean, I can't tell from this, it's a little choppy, but I think he's still going for to me, it looked like he was going for the ball. But, there's nothing specific. That's more of a feel, I guess. As long as he's going for that, he still has his opportunity because he called for the fair catch.
So with talking with my supervisor and then people with my side judge and other people I've shown the game, I got a correct call, or a correct no call, for not calling KCI on this. Obviously, there's not, maybe if we have more angles, it's different. But from everything I had heard, and it ended up on our training tape, I believe. So they heard our supervisor say it was a good no call for the KCI. So I just wanted to present it to this group who had no preconceived notion of our supervisor saying that this was a good call. So thank you. And that's my last play.
Roger, if you can. Yeah, that's tight. I mean, I'll go out on a limb. I think I agree with your supervisor there. They never contact that receiver. They do the best they can to not violate that 1 yard belt. It's the receiver really going into it after the muff that makes it potentially suspect. So overall, I think I'm okay with it with that not being KCI. A word of caution I'd share though, just be careful with your movement there. Remember, as a back judge, and I'm not speaking from much experience, but from what all the back judges that I've learned from have taught me, distance is our friend, and try to move with a purpose. If we're closing in too soon on plays like that, all we're doing is narrowing our vision and preventing ourselves from being able to digest everything that our peripheral vision can potentially see. So the further back we stand, the more stationary we are, while we allow the entire play to finish, gives us a better shot at seeing that entire play and being able to fully digest it before we make a reaction here. Here it looks like we end up getting the play right. How much of that was our instincts versus fully digesting it and making that correct ruling would be the question for you and the side judge there. But I mean, overall, tough play. Definitely a barn burner. Good news that you guys were able to get it right and you got the support for it.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. Covering punts is something I've been working on since I've started. I've been improving on since I started college football, and I think figuring out that sweet spot of where I want to stand and what my movements need to be. And this was actually the first game of last season, so shaking off rust and trying to figure out where I need to be on punts has been something I've been working on. So it's been a work in progress.
The biggest thing that I'm trying to tell our back judges, and it seems almost like, pardon the pun with COVID, it's like a pandemic with back judges on punt plays, where so many of them are hell-bent on going up and getting that progress spot at the end of the punt. And you see them before the ball's even caught, trying to close in and get that progress spot and walk right up to right next to that punt receiver where the ball's caught and give that nice pretty point, where in reality there is 0% or 0% of the time is it the responsibility for that back judge to have that progress spot. It's field judge and side judge all the way, and if we can convince those back judges to stay back and maintain that 5 or that 7 to 10 yard cushion, they might have a better opportunity to fully digest that entire play. And you kind of see that here a little bit. And if you watch really any game on TV on Saturdays and sometimes even on Sundays, you see a lot of guys after a fair catch walking straight up to that progress spot and giving that nice fresh point. And all they're doing when that happens is narrowing their vision more and more and more with every step they take closer to that ball carrier. And not only could that potentially make us miss a KCI or a muff, but also some type of dead ball personal foul, an illegal block in the back, or a blindside block that occurs during a return. So I can't stress enough as a back judge, and Bill has heard me preach this year in and year out, distance is your friend. Don't worry about that spot. And the further back you are and the wider vision or the wider of a vision you can maintain, the better off we're going to be as a crew to be able to cover that play in reverse mechanics. And we're going to hit this next week. Now, reverse mechanics are typically when we as a crew are at our weakest. It's when we're spread out the most. It's when all 7 or 8 of us have to cover the most grass or most field on any given play. It's extremely difficult to do, and in order to do it adequately, we need to make sure that not only are everybody doing their jobs on the field, but we are all doing our jobs looking in the right place and maintaining as wide as a field of vision as possible.
Thanks, JV.
I have an opinion on this play.
Go for it.
If that ball does not touch the ground, and mind you, this is a really tough play. If that ball does not touch the ground, that returner has an opportunity to catch that kick, to catch his muff if he's given a signal. Just that's what the rule is, and if he's still moving forward, I'd be very wary that he still has an opportunity to field that muff.
And Roger, I think part of it comes into what your supervisor and what your trainers, and this is for everyone, what you call depends on that. I know ours is very open and supportive of KCI and has told us repeatedly, anything close, get it. And if it's the first punt of the game, then get it and get him out of that zone. So, your coordinator coming in telling you that's fine, then that's good, because we called it right. And you'll see, as you change and go from place to place, the coordinators and the trainers are going to kind of change your philosophy and change what you call or what you have called in the past.
Well, thanks to everybody who shared tonight, and thanks for the conversation. I wanted to put up the presentation schedule for the next couple of weeks. I know next Wednesday, AJ Haddock's going to talk about red zone stuff. And then the week after, JV is going to do some reverse mechanics before Devin does some stuff on scrimmage kicks. And then I wanted to put another Teachable Moments presentation on the list because I feel like we've all got plays that we could share. Don't hesitate to reach out to me over in the coming weeks with some plays you want. We'll figure out ways to make it work. Some people did screen recordings. Obviously, if you're a COC person, it's easier to get clips and stuff. But we can work that out. No test call next week. I'm trying to build the bank back up. I want to get at least one more SEC test before we get into that. And then obviously we'll start doing some more calls around the CFO test when it comes out, but I will keep you all posted. Otherwise, guys, that's it for tonight. I guess we will see you next Wednesday night for AJ's presentation, but thanks for being on here and have a great rest of your evening.